All right, Indio students, here we go. This is week 5 of vocab. Now, I realize it's not really week 5. It's because it takes longer than a week for us to do vocab because of the rolling block schedule. But it's vocab 5. Let's just think of it that way, okay? And you don't need to say I'm the week 5 like WEAK. That would hurt my feelings. It's not very nice. All right. Anyway, it's early. Let's do this. Pristine. This is an adjective. If something is pristine, it's as good as new. Oh man, that is pristine. It's absolutely perfect. It's immaculate, meaning clean and fresh, not a problem. Everything's nice. So if it's pristine, it's just as it should be. Now listen, I put on these pictures. I did a Google search for pristine, and this is the picture that arrived. So if I have to have nightmares, so do you. Good luck with that, because that's the creepiest thing I've ever seen. Rescind. I'm not going to rescind that last comment. I mean it. To rescind is a verb. If you rescind something, you take it back, or you cancel it if it's an idea or something like that. So if I gave you a gift and I rescinded it, I take the gift back. If I said something I didn't like, I rescind that. I can't literally grab it and take it back from you, but I no longer mean it. I've canceled it. Now, generally speaking, it's the latter thing. It's almost always a verbal or a contractual idea. I have rescinded the offer. I said, whatever it was. I said, let's go to the movies on Saturday. Then I found out you said bad things about me behind my back. I now rescind my offer. I am no longer going to take you to the movies. We're not hanging out. So as it says here, there's knockoff Superman. And the mayor says, I know that we gave you the key to the city, but I'm going to need that back now. Partly, because there's no city, but really because Superman didn't save everyone. Everything's being ruined. So there you go. Daunting. It was a daunting task he had. I didn't mean to tie all these together, but whatever. It seems amusing right now. Daunting is an adjective. It's almost always used to describe a task, something that has to be done. If something seems daunting, it seems extremely difficult to the point of overwhelming. It's intimidating in how tough it will be to do. Sometimes school can seem like a daunting task. You're like, I don't know if I can go to school. It's so hard. There's so much work on and on. And then you remember, wait a second, I get to go to English class. And English class is amazing. So maybe it's, not that bad. Or maybe you hate English class and, I don't know, history is what gets you through, or math or whatever. All right, crude. Now, this one has two meanings depending on its context, and you have to be kind of careful to make sure you get the right one. Neither one is a particularly nice thing to use to describe something. Either way, it's always an adjective. If something is described as crude, it may be rude or gross. If someone acts in a crude fashion, they're, maybe they chew with their mouth open. They use swear words when they really shouldn't. I have a lot of students like that. If a thing is crude, that means usually that's made roughly and without much skill. It kind of barely is the thing. It does the job, but not by much. It can also be something that's in its most raw state, the most simple version of it, like oil. When crude oil comes out of the ground, it doesn't look like the stuff that comes in bottles at the store. So over here, you can see in the corner, right here, the Stone Age tools, like there's an axe and there's an arrowhead and there's a hammer and whatever else. They're barely used, something like that. Now, sometimes ones are just used to be thrown at animals, but these were all ones that were crude tools. Now, someone could behave crudely while using them, like pretending this one was, a part of their body. We don't need to say what one, I suppose. And, gesture with it in history class when they have better things to do. That'd be crude behavior with a crude weapon. So anyway, that is also why the cartoon about cavemen called The Crudes is called The Crudes. It's after this. Anyway, clairvoyant. Clairvoyant is an adjective. It's someone who's clairvoyant can see into the future. Now, it's sometimes used as a noun just for that person. If someone is a clairvoyant, there's someone who can see in the future. I think it's better thinking of it as an adjective, but indeed it is often used as a noun. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be, though. Anyway, people who say they can see into the future are clairvoyant, like the Long Island medium. I hate these people. I hate them completely. I think they're total frauds. Trying to rip people off. Watch them closely. See that they just kind of ask questions until they hint around at something that could describe anyone. It's kind of lame. Anyway, that's my little joke there. Okay, didn't see that one coming. Long Island medium. Look how surprised you are. Shouldn't she never be surprised? If she's clairvoyant, shouldn't she always know what's coming? Shouldn't she be bored and just finishing people's sentences for them? Anyway, facetious. Facetious is an adjective. It describes an action or a joke or maybe it describes an action or an attitude when someone treats something serious with a light or flippant mood. They make a joke when everyone else is being serious, and it's highly inappropriate. If someone accuses you of being facetious, that ain't good. They think you aren't taking something seriously and you need to mock them. So maybe you've heard this from a teacher. They say, are you being facetious? Like, we're having a serious conversation and you just kind of like, made a joke during it. That's not good. Get ready for someone apologizing. You just made them even more angry. So it's almost like a combination between actions and sarcasm to be facetious. It's an interesting thing. It's very, very rude, and it's intentional. If someone accidentally makes a joke, that's not really quite the same thing. Amok, it's an adverb. Hey, wait a second, we never get adverbs. This is great. An adverb, remember, is a word that modifies a verb. Adjectives modify nouns. Adverbs modify verbs, which is nice because it's right there in the word, helpful for us to remember. If something is amok, it's wild and out of control. Now, here's the thing. It's almost always used next to the word run, as in it's crazy out there. Everything has run amok. If everything's going crazy and people are running in all directions and screaming and stuff's on fire, then things have run amok. You can use it with other verbs, but it basically never is, so don't worry about it. All right, adulterate. This is a verb. To adulterate something is to add something that makes the original thing worse. So if someone has apple juice and they add a bunch of salt to it, they've now adulterated it. By adding all that stuff to it, they made it worse. Now, weirdly, it's almost always used in a negation and used as an adjective. This is a weird thing. So if something is adulterated, it's now an adjective, right? Even weirder, though, it's almost always described as unadulterated, meaning it's something that's not messed with. It's the original, and there's nothing bad added to it. So when you hear it, you will hear the word adulterate. It happens. But the far more common form of it is this multiple adjusted one, unadulterated. It's very weird. English is very strange sometimes. Now, the thing that makes me laugh is the word adult in there, because things have taken on more and become worse, which makes me wonder, what's it saying about grown-ups? That adults are just bad versions of kids because experience has ruined us? Maybe. I don't know. I hope that's not the case. Anyway, I digress. To digress is a verb. It's to go off from the original topic into something just barely related. Weirdly, you almost always hear it in the phrase, but I digress. There is a noun form of it called digression. A digression is the thing itself, the kind of random branch of conversation. So when someone has started down a tangent in conversation that's a departure from the original point, and then they take a sudden U-turn back to their point, that's when you'd hear them say, but I digress. They start off talking about how their trip was to the dentist, and they end up talking about, I don't know, how much they hate SUVs, whatever, because there was one in front of them in traffic going to the dentist, whatever it is. And then they go, oh, but I digress. And then they go back to talking about the dentist. That's what that would be. All right, anyway, that's digress. I believe this last is ethereal. This is a good one to end on. Ethereal is an adjective. If something is ethereal, it has an exquisite beauty that feels a bit delicate and light, fragile, almost too perfect to be of this earth. It seems magical. It seems heavenly. So someone can have a beauty that is ethereal. It's just very gentle and sweet. They have very fine features, maybe, where you almost feel like the slightest little adjustment would ruin the perfect balance of what's going on there. There can be music that's ethereal. Usually when people describe music as ethereal, it's very light, kind of new agey stuff, lots of high tinkling sounds, things like that. There can be all kinds of things described as ethereal. Art can be, but I find it's usually things are almost not tangible. Things are really, really light and fine. A bubble, like the shimmer in a bubble, would be a really good way to think about this. It's just barely there, and it's incredibly beautiful and fragile. Anyway, those are the words of the week. That's our time. Good luck on the quiz.